headlines of VTV News. Vietnam National Assembly Chairman meets with China's President Xi Jinping in Beijing. Scorching weather forces people to dig wells for water. And later on in our world news, Red Sea tensions continue to escalate.
Broadcasting from Hanoi, the capital of Vietnam. VTV News starts right now.
Hello there, this is VTV News coming live to you from Hanoi. You're with me, Lina Phạm, and here's the top news of the hour. Prime Minister Pham Minh Chính has issued an official dispatch urging ministries, sectors and localities to prioritize information security in the face of increasing cyber attacks, particularly ransomware attacks. He has called for ministers, heads of ministerial level and governmental agencies, chairpersons of the People's Committees of provinces and centrally run cities and businesses to be legally and directly accountable to the Prime Minister for any serious incidents resulting from a failure to ensure information security in their respective management systems. They are urged to conduct a thorough review and assessment of their information system security. The results should be sent to the Ministry before April the 30th, 2024. The Minister of Information and Communications is tasked with guiding media and press agencies to work with ministries, sectors and localities to increase the dissemination of information security-related laws and to raise public awareness about the importance of information security. The Ministries of Public Security and National Defense are asked to enhance information security in accordance with their assigned functions and tasks and in their managed fields. They are also asked to coordinate with the Ministry of Information and Communications to organize inspections and address any related violations. Vương Đình Huệ, the chairman of the Vietnam National Assembly, met with Chinese President Xi Jinping in Beijing on Monday. During this meeting, he proposed increased cooperation on trade and development projects. Chairman Vương Đình Huệ congratulated China on its significant historical achievements, especially since the 18th Party Congress. He expressed his belief that China will successfully accomplish the goals of the 20th Congress. General Secretary and President Xi Jinping congratulated Vietnam on its socio-economic development under the leadership of the Communist Party of Vietnam. He affirmed China's support for Vietnam's development, stability, and successful construction of socialism, taking into account the country's circumstances. Chairman Vương Đình Huệ suggested that both sides enhance strategic connectivity, thereby creating new growth momentum for cooperation. He emphasized the focus on trade and expanding the import of goods, especially agricultural products, along with encouraging people-to-people and youth exchanges. The Business Confidence Index of the European Chamber of Commerce in Vietnam, or Eurocham, reached 52.8 in the first quarter of this year, marking the highest level in the past 3 years. This result came after Eurocham surveyed over 1,400 members of the association. The level of optimism has risen by 6 points compared to the previous quarter. More than half of EU businesses predict higher orders and revenue in the second quarter, and over 40% plan to expand their workforce. More than 2/3 feel positive about the long-term prospects in Vietnam. However, the report also suggests that Vietnam needs to continue improving the quality of the business investment environment and minimize legal barriers. The Central Highlands region has reached a significant milestone, with coffee prices soaring to over 100,000 VNDs or $4 per kilogram, marking a historic high. However, despite this record, coffee processors and exporters are concerned about a scarcity of supply caused by prolonged dry weather conditions. Conversely, farmers are hesitant to sell their produce. As a result, numerous businesses are facing challenges in procuring an adequate amount of raw materials.
This enterprise is a leading coffee exporter in Đắk Lắk province. In March alone, they exported over 19,000 tons of green coffee, reaching a record high in recent years. However, business leaders are predicting that an approximate 10% decrease in total export output this year compared to last due to supply shortages.
Over the past few months, prices have surged significantly, leading to occasional disruptions in the supply chain. There have been instances where suppliers have struggled to deliver goods to exporters. Due to these output shortages, the company's overall business output for this year is anticipated to fall short of the planned targets.
In response to supply shortages, businesses have begun stockpiling and prioritizing value enhancement through deep processing. Similarly, this company plans to sustain production and export volumes by innovating technology, enhancing deep processing capabilities, and expanding the variety of commercial products.
We have drafted appropriate response plans. We also strengthen joint ventures and cooperate with other firms to form supply chains, ensuring adequate supply and quality.
To meet the requirements of exporters and importers, all relevant parties have the responsibility to protect the reputation of Vietnamese coffee, the national brand, as well as its long-term development.
The Vietnam Coffee and Cocoa Association predicts that coffee production during the 2023 to 2024 crop season will decrease to about 1.6 to 1.7 million tons. This marks a decline of roughly 10% from previous crop year.
In the first 2 months of 2024, Vietnam surpassed Thailand to become China's top durian exporter, shipping 32,750 tons. According to Vietnam Customs, this accounted for 57% of China's durian imports, a significant increase from last year's 32%. Vietnam's durian exports to China have increased by 2.4 times year-on-year. Conversely, Thailand's exports fell by half to 19,000 tons. Notably, Vietnam's export price of $4,916 per container was almost 20% lower than Thailand's. Due to high demand from China, farmers have been raising durian prices in recent months. In March, the prices for the high-quality Montong variety in the Mekong Delta increased by 15% from the previous year. Vietnam's durian exports are projected to exceed $3.5 billion this year, up 66% from last year. In the first quarter, the consumption index for the overall processing and manufacturing sector surged by 8.2%. Concurrently, the inventory ratio inhibited a gradual decline, registering approximately 12% lower than the corresponding period in the previous year. Industrial production rebounded following several government support initiatives and efforts from businesses. Nevertheless, this growth falls short of expectations amidst numerous potential risks in the global market landscape.
The primary export markets for these garments have been the US and Europe. However, these regions have recently seen a significant increase in shipping rates, leading to considerable delivery delays. Businesses are now shifting their focus to nearby regions like the Middle East and South Asia to find new orders.
We carry out many trade promotion activities, from online and offline to face-to-face meetings, to expand into markets such as Malaysia, Cambodia, and Singapore.
The textile and garment industry is one of the 12 secondary industries that experienced a growth rate of over 10% compared to the first quarter of last year. However, the growth rate for processing and manufacturing in the first quarter was about 6%, which is not particularly high. This figure is only equivalent to the first quarter results of 2020 and 2021, years that were impacted by the COVID-19 pandemic.
The 5.9% increase in the manufacturing and processing industry is positive, yet it is the lowest increase in the past 10 years. Out of the 33 secondary industries, 7 continue to decrease.
Uncertainty about how the economy is going, right? They don't have a lot of confidence in how strong the economy is. They would tend to be more conservative in their expenditure. So they will not go out and buy a car. They will not go out and buy a bike.
The General Statistics Office reports that the Industrial Production Index is falling in 9 localities, some of which are significant industrial centers in the country. This urgent issue requires close monitoring to create appropriate support measures to revitalize this vital growth driver.
From a growth rate of -1% in February, the credit growth of the entire economy reached over 0.6% by the end of March, indicating a positive improvement. It's anticipated that the credit rate will grow even further in the second quarter. More on this in the following.
As of the end of March, the bank's credit growth rate was 6%. This rate is lower than the 9% from the same period last year. The loan credit scale remains at the same level as the previous term, approximately $800 million.
We build credit packages with attractive interest rates, lower than the usual rates that businesses need to pay. We also offer a 0% interest rate program in the first month for up to $400 million. Additionally, we create online channels for customers to conveniently borrow capital. Approval and loan application processes are also carried out quickly.
By the end of March, system-wide credit growth had reached 0.61%. Many joint stock banks exhibited high growth rates. For instance, ACB had a growth rate of 3.7%, OCB 4.6%, and Techcombank between 3 to 4% in the first 2 months of the year.
Looking at the positive factors of the economy, we believe that interest rates will continue to remain low throughout the year. Therefore, individuals and businesses can access capital at attractive interest rates.
At present, banks are offering business loans with interest rates of 4 to 6% per year, and individual customer rates of 6 to 8% per year. They also offer incentives such as a fixed interest rate for the first 1 to 2 years, or interest-free for the initial month. Experts opine that to stimulate credit growth in the future, the crucial factor is to enhance the demand for capital.
The current monetary policy and business environment are relatively good. The only issue is improving the flow of capital. If economic growth is strong, it will enhance capital circulation in the economy. Industries such as trade, service, and tourism have shown positive signs in the first few months. Thus, credit in these industries is also growing.
At a recent conference titled Unlocking Capital Flows held in Ho Chi Minh City, experts stated that current indicators suggest economic recovery. They affirmed that low interest rates will support growth during this phase.
And before we move to the next part of VTV News, let's check out how the Vietnam dong is weighed against other currencies in the world market today. Coming up next, delegations extend greetings to Cambodia on Chon Chnam Thmay. And scorching weather forces people to dig wells for waters. The Vietnamese Embassy in Cambodia, in conjunction with the Vietnam-Cambodia Business Association, organized a medical examination program in Kampong Chnang province to celebrate the traditional New Year, Chon Chnam Thmay. They distributed free medicine and gifts to the impoverished local community. Many individuals of Vietnamese origin and Cambodian locals participated in the free health checks and received medicine. Additionally, a Medphone company distributed 600 gifts to the local residents. Over the past 15 years, the company has invested over $120 million in charitable and social security programs in Cambodia. The Bạc Liêu Bird Sanctuary in the Mekong Delta province of Bạc Liêu faces an extreme fire danger risk listed as level 5. Currently is the peak of the dry season and a heat spell has sustained over the past few days, causing noon temperatures to rise to 35 to 36 degrees Celsius. The vegetation in the Bạc Liêu Bird Park has withered and the water levels in the canals and ditches have rapidly decreased. In recent days, to prevent and combat potential forest fires, the Forest Management Board has been regularly clearing vegetation and fire-prone areas, as well as maintaining roads and embankments. Additionally, they are utilizing peak tides to channel water into the canals and ditches, aiming to maintain humidity in the forest. El Nino continues to cause little rainfall and prolonged hot weather. Recently, temperatures in the central provinces have risen to 38 to 40 degrees Celsius. Agricultural production is severely impacted, with the heat causing hundreds of hectares of crops to lose productivity, even resulting in total losses. Currently, balancing water resources is crucial for these regions.
In the north, rice fields are reaching the phase where irrigation is necessary. However, numerous pumping stations are encountering challenges. Despite the presence of a newly designed station, the river's water level has been below the minimum operating threshold for many years.
But there are times when the water level falls below 1 meter. If the power corporation does not discharge from the hydroelectric reservoirs, operation would become almost impossible.
According to the National Center for Hydrometeorological Forecasting, the dry season in 2024 will be hotter than usual. Although the drought in the Mekong Delta and Central Highlands will only occur in April, the dry period in the central region will last for an additional 3 to 4 months. Many irrigation reservoirs have recently seen water levels drop from 1 to 5 meters.
From April to June, El Niño transitions to neutral. From July to September, it changes to La Nina. This will lead to situations related to drought and saltwater intrusion in the central coastal provinces. Before the end of this winter-spring crop, the provinces need to rebalance their water sources. If they are insufficient, a switch to a different crop structure must be considered.
Over the past 2 years, farmers in Ninh Thuan province have significantly transitioned from rice to short-term crops, prioritizing plants that require less water.
Green beans take 2 months to harvest, but corn takes 4 months.
In the long term, it is essential to implement economical irrigation for perennial crops such as tea, coffee, and fruit trees, along with the solution of crop structure conversion.
Over 8,200 hectares of crops in areas outside irrigation works in Bình Phước province are experiencing drought and water scarcity. Bù Gia Mập district is the most severely affected area with over 5,000 hectares, primarily consisting of fruit trees. In addition to agricultural water shortages, over 1,400 households in Bình Phước lack access to fresh water. Currently, the water levels in most lakes and dams across the province have declined, with remaining reservoir capacities ranging from 32 to 45%. Water scarcity is currently the most pressing issue in Hàm Thuận Nam district, Bình Thuận province. Intense heat and extreme weather conditions have led to the drying up of many reservoirs and rivers in the area. As a result, residents are exploring every possible means to secure water for daily use.
A meager trickle of water is all that remains of the Linh River as it passes through village 1 of Hàm Cần commune, Hàm Thuận Nam district, Bình Thuận province. People have dug small wells under the riverbed in hopes of obtaining water for their families.
We have to dig deeper now. If we don't, we won't have any water left to use in about a month.
We have to do this 3 to 4 times a day to get water for drinking, cooking, and washing dishes.
For families living near the Linh River, fetching water remains a viable option. However, those residing farther away may have to spend over $20 per cubic meter on bottled water for daily use, with the water's hygiene being uncertain. Perhaps for these people, those containers of water are their most valuable possession.
For many years, Bình Thuận has only cared about water. Only reservoir can ensure a reserve of water for the right season. Many communities face severe water scarcity. Some do not have any irrigation systems.
Statistics from the Bình Thuận Provincial Department of Agriculture and Rural Development indicate that Phan Thiết City, along with 41 other communes, wards and towns, is experiencing water shortages. This situation is impacting the daily lives of nearly 100,000 people.
Numerous historical sites nationwide have significantly deteriorated over decades. This issue was addressed in the draft of the National Target Program on Cultural Renaissance and Human Development 2025 to 2030. The program aims to restore and preserve 95% of special national relics and approximately 70% of national relics by 2030. However, achieving this goal presents a considerable challenge.
Many national relics have been found in deterioration and ruins as they have awaited restoration for the past decades. Meanwhile, this is the new image of the temple as its renovation nears completion. Long-awaited joy is accompanied by regrets. Very few reusable elements are left, making it difficult to preserve the distinctive features of this ancient architectural masterpiece.
Only when dismantled do we realize the severity of the degradation. We struggle to preserve the four pillars and the pedestals. Whatever cannot be preserved must be accepted.
Assessment and appraisal take a lot of time. If administrative procedures were faster and attention was given earlier, many components could have been saved from deterioration.
Maintaining the authenticity and originality of structures is challenging due to the lack of skilled experts and craftsmen. Vietnam only has 2 artifact restoration centers, the Vietnam National Fine Arts Museum and the Vietnam National Museum of History. Furthermore, Vietnamese art schools have not yet offered training in this specialized field.
Currently, human resources at museums can only undertake basic preservation tasks. We still lack the manpower to prevent deterioration and preserve archival materials.
As historical sites deteriorate, the demand for restoration increases. However, when state funds are limited and mobilizing social resources is challenging, the restoration process must be selective.
We need to reassess and invest heavily in preserving what is valuable, while allocating less valuable items to the community, empowering villages and communities.
Heritage preservation is a crucial process, as it is vulnerable to damage and at risk of disappearing. Without timely restoration, funds could be wasted and relics may deteriorate into ruins.
Coming up next in our world news, Red Sea tensions continue to escalate. And Danish AI algorithm aims to predict life and death. On Sunday, Houthi forces in Yemen launched missiles and unmanned aerial vehicles at ships from the UK, US, and Israel. This incident is the most recent in a series of attacks by the Houthis on ships in the Red Sea. In their statement, the Houthis claim to have targeted a British ship and multiple US warships in the Red Sea, as well as 2 Israeli ships in the Arabian Sea and Indian Ocean en route to Israeli ports. Meanwhile, the U.S. Central Command in the Middle East stated that they had destroyed a mobile surface-to-air missile system belonging to the Houthi forces on April the 6th and had also shot down an unmanned aerial vehicle over the Red Sea. No casualties or damage have been reported. The Israeli military pulled back troops from Khan Yunis located southern Gaza on Sunday in preparation for a different mission. They declared the completion of another preparatory phase for a potential conflict on the northern front with Lebanon and Syria. The military plans to regroup and prepare for new assignments. According to Israeli Defense Chief Yoav Gallant, the troop withdrawal from Khan Yunis occurred after months of combat because Hamas no longer functions as a military entity in the city. Despite nearly all ground forces retreating from the southern Gaza Strip, Israel's chief of the General Staff, Herzi Halevi, emphasized that the fight against Hamas is ongoing and not expected to conclude soon. Tensions are on the rise between Israel and Iran. On Sunday, Yahya Rahim Safavi, an advisor to Iran's supreme leader, issued a warning that no Israeli embassy is safe anymore, asserting that confronting Israel is Iran's legitimate right. This comes in response to a missile attack on the Iranian embassy in Damascus, Syria, reportedly fired by Israel on April the 1st. The attack resulted in the deaths of at least 11 people, including several senior officers from Iran's elite units. While Israel has not officially confirmed its involvement, its leaders have not denied the country's actions against Iran. Israel maintains that its military is prepared for any retaliatory action from Iran. The belief that human lives are determined by destiny is common, but is it true? The answer remains debatable. However, Danish scientists have developed an algorithm that can predict major life events, such as illness, having children, or even death. They use artificial intelligence and data from millions of individuals to forecast these life stages. This work also serves to highlight the power of technology and its potential risks.
Soon Lemon, a professor at the Technical University of Denmark, is researching an artificial intelligence algorithm that can predict a range of life events related to health and social issues.
Interesting about this from a scientific perspective is that the kind of algorithm that we built really can predict not just life and death, so it's not just a death calculator, but it can predict anything for where you have training data.
The algorithm was developed from the data analysis of approximately 6 million people in Denmark. It predicts life outcomes by analyzing event sequences. The algorithm accurately predicts death in 78% of cases, while its prediction of a person's relocation to another city or country is correct 73% of the time.
Basically what we do is we look at early mortality, so we take a very young cohort, and the model can do that really well, better than any other algorithm that we could find, and we tried many on the same data set.
According to Lemon, the algorithm's potential is vast. It can predict a person's health outcomes, such as reproductive capacity or obesity, and even determine who might develop cancer, based on variables like birth date, education level, social welfare, and a work schedule. It can even predict earnings. However, this tool is not yet ready for use outside of research environments.
It can be used against us to discriminate us, so that you will have to pay a higher insurance, or you can't get a loan in the bank, or you can't get public welfare because you're going to die anyway or whatever.
According to Lemon, this algorithm may one day be useful in determining an individual's risk of falling ill. However, some scientists caution that these models might not be accurate for everyone.
And now let's take a look at the weather forecast. And that's it for this edition of VTV News. Thank you very much for watching. To rewatch our program, you can download VTVgo from App Store or Google Play, or tune in our YouTube channel at youtube.com/VTV4go. Goodbye for now.